Hello and welcome to Basel Tov, the whatever, the courage and creativity of ADHD. I'm Jen and I have ADHD, like a lot.
I'm Ellen. I also have ADHD.
I'm Annette, and I'm hard ADHD.
And we can't even talk today. So we have, speaking of not being able to do something, but then knowing that you have to do it anyway, our topic today is resilience. So we're going to stumble through this probably because, I don't know, sometimes we're tired, right? But first I have some real world ADHD news for you. So there is a woman out there in the world who ran into apparently a regionally famous quarterback for like the Buffalo Bills, I guess. So she runs into this person at an airport and pranks her daughter and says, "I just met Chris Pratt," because she thinks he looks like Chris Pratt. She has no idea who this person really is until it gets on the internet and goes viral.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know that this is an ADHD moment because this person is my sister-in-law.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yay, Donna. You're so famous right now. She's literally doing radio interviews and podcasts about this issue because he's like so famous in that one part of the United States and everybody just loves this guy, I guess. And she had no clue at all. She just wanted to prank her daughter and make her think that she had met Chris Pratt.
That's awesome.
I meet famous people in Japan quite often and I have no idea who they are. And so I'm just like talking like a normal person, like, hey. And then everybody afterwards is like, "Do you know who you're talking to?" I'm like, "No."
I mean, it's fair because when you see somebody in print all the time, and presumably anytime you see this guy, he's probably got a helmet on, some pads, maybe, some of that dark eye stuff they put on or whatever, like it's not going to look like the person who's just in a sweatshirt in an airport. And also, isn't there a psychological thing in that where you, like, it's a psychological phenomenon where you can recognize a celebrity if it's in print, but not in person because it's like your brain doesn't associate? I heard about this somewhere.
The same thing. Well, yeah, it's because your brain is processing a 2D image, and once it's in 3D, you're not seeing all of the angles, and so sometimes it does not compute.
Ah, okay. So there was that at play too, in her defense. But yay. Congratulations, Donna, for meeting a quarterback.
And not Chris Pratt.
Yeah. I wonder if Chris Pratt's sitting back on the internet going, "Who is this quarterback guy? I don't look like that." Like, you got to wonder. Yeah. So, anyway, resilience. This is something that comes up from time to time it's like a buzzword that it never properly goes away. All of a sudden, people start talking about grit, resilience, chutzpah, stubbornness. And, depending on what word you use, it'll get painted in a slightly different light. I don't feel like girls are encouraged to be resilient as much as boys are. That's my personal opinion on the matter. But, it seems like boys are rewarded a little bit more for this behavior than girls are for just, sticking to it.
I think that has to do with sports and boys sports and team hierarchy and things like that. But I think a lot of people misunderstand the definition of being resilient, because being resilient doesn't mean like pushing through or like having grit. Resilience is like being able to get through a difficult thing and then coming out the other side successful is the true meaning of resilience.
Like thriving after trauma.
Okay, so like the difference between resilience and grit is the fact that with resilience you come out the other end successfully, whereas with grit there's no like end determination there. You just kind of keep going and going and going.
Well, yeah, and I think that I mean a lot of people feel like they're always like adulting is so hard and you have to do
It
this.
is, man.
I mean, adulting is hard, but
Yeah,
why would you even think that adulting would be easy? I mean, if you look
that's
back
fair.
through history, if you look back through history, it's like, okay, so we don't have to plant our crops anymore, and a plague of locusts isn't going to make it so that we starve to death, but like it's always been hard. Why do you expect it not to be hard? So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the younger generation is like, well, it's not fun and it's really hard and I don't want to do it because it's hard. And I'm like, yo, being a human is hard. Life is hard. It's
I
like,
mean, I agree, but I will say, we're elder millennials, if you will. We grew up, we were born in the 1980s.
The elders.
And I feel like our generation was kind of sold this message that if you, go to school and work hard and go to college and graduate, and you're guaranteed to get a good job, and then you're guaranteed to have a successful life, relationship, all your dreams will come true if you just do all these right things, and be a good person. And so I think that's maybe where some of the like disappointment comes from, is that a lot of us did kind of quote do all the right things and are feeling a little disappointed right now. There's a lot going on right now in the world and our economy. It's hard right now.
Yeah, I feel like that lie came from the idea of the people from the baby boomers, and they came back from war. They had a booming economy. Everybody was having children. Buying houses was cheaper. You did go to work, get a decent job, and you could provide for your entire family. And so the baby boomers raising us, kind of spread that because that was their reality. But
makes sense.
times change and that's not our reality. But I mean, even if you look back at the baby boomers generation, it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
No,
a bunch
not at
of them
all.
died at war. They had to shut down everything. They worked in factories. A lot of people had more blue collar jobs, not as many white collar jobs. But our generation thinks, okay, if I go to university, I'm going to have a white collar job, which is not the reality.
Right.
A degree does not guarantee you.
No. Even sometimes hard work doesn't guarantee.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the hardest workers are getting paid the lowest wages. It's really sad, honestly. But got to be resilient, I guess.
Well, yeah. And so coming back to resilience,
strap those boots.
The psychological kind of definition of resilience is the ability to deal with difficult events. And there's like 6 different things that contribute to an individual's resiliency. One is being able to make realistic plans and taking the steps needed to carry out those plans. So that helps build resilience. Next is managing strong impulses or feelings. So you can see how you can already see from the first 2 how
fail.
This can be a little bit of a challenge for those.
All right, what else we got? What else we got here?
Okay, number 3, taking a favorable view of oneself and having confidence in your abilities and strengths.
Okay.
Because we don't have RSD or anything.
Oh yeah.
No. Yeah.
Next is having skills in the area of communication and problem solving. That actually is to our benefit to a lot of
depends on who
degrees,
you're communicating with, but yes.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes. Next is coping with stress. And the last one is bouncing back from trauma, challenges, failures, and adversity in any form. Now,
that's a big one.
People will, but people will look at this and, there are areas where the ADHD brain finds it very difficult to be resilient. We, get distracted from things. We can't properly plan out something in some cases. But these are just some of the points. It's also possible for ADHD people to be extremely resilient because every moment of our life, every day, we are faced with adversity. And we have to overcome the smallest little things in our life constantly. We are constantly challenged. And so that can build a lot of resilience. And so people with ADHD can be highly resilient as well.
Yeah. And downright stubborn. I'm speaking for myself right now.
Yeah, I mean, as the inattentive type here, I am not really also my personality. I'm not really a competitive person, not really competitive with myself either, So, and also when I was growing up, my parents weren't exactly strict with my brother and I about like getting us to keep doing things. Like if we started an activity or a sport or something and we didn't like it, even on the first day, they were like, "Oh, it's okay. You don't have to do it. Don't do it if you don't want to." Which is like, I get it. They had very strict parents, so they didn't want to be strict with us. But it didn't really teach me to like keep going at something and keep striving, even if it was a little bit challenging. So like, I think I've mentioned this on here before, but like, I never learned how to swim because it was just too hard for me when I was a kid. And so my parents were like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it then." And so I feel like I haven't had the best track record with sticking with challenging circumstances and overcoming them. And so maybe, but obviously I've been through trauma and I feel like I'm at a point in my life now where I'm starting to thrive. And so, you could say that I have been resilient. Maybe the way I got there is different than other people though. Yeah.
Yeah. And just because you're resilient in one area of your life doesn't mean you have to be resilient in every area of your life.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think the odds on that are pretty small because I mean, I've met people who were resilient in stuff that I was like, "Oh, wow, that must be really hard." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, no problem for me." But, at the same time, they would like cringe at something that I'd be like, what's the matter with this? Like, so
everyone's
I
different.
think it's a very personal thing. Yeah.
We all have different thresholds.
Yeah, I agree.
True.
I look at the English, the English school. I've said before, it starts its new school year in April. So we just started this week and it's our first week of classes. Yay. Which is always fun and exciting, but also there's a lot that goes into it.
And you had the stomach flu.
Look. Oh, yes. And I had the stomach flu, but I had to teach because there was nobody else.
Oh. Resilient.
It was okay.
Resilient.
It's okay.
Absolutely.
I survived.
Yes, you did.
But I don't feel like that's so much resilience because like that's just, sheer survival.
That's grit. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's grit. Literally gritting your teeth.
That was just like, you have to survive, man. Let's go. But I look at preparing for the English school every year, and it looks like this just impossible mountain. But I get it done every year, and I've learned to make lists and put things where I actually I started this year. I use the the to-do list thing on my MacBook Pro. I have the to-do list in the upper corner and I never shut it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't have object permanence, and Ellen and I were talking about this just a little bit ago.
Gotta keep it in sight.
I hide money from myself and then I find it and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm rich!" Just because, it happens all the time.
Same thing here. I know object permanence.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible. But like if I have my to-do list constantly on my computer screen, every morning when I open my computer screen, I go, "Oh yeah, I have to do that."
Oh man. That sounds like a really excellent idea. Like I need to try that.
You gotta
it's glaring at me.
Gotta know yourself. Know what you need.
Yeah. That's it. I've got to try that.
And try to hide money from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the savings plan. I used to actually be really good when I was like younger. I figured out that if I just put my money, like all the money that I wanted to save, into a box, and I couldn't see it, I just wouldn't think of it forever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm. ADHD hack.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Ellen about. I always freak out that I'm not going to have enough money to do the events at my school, and then I'll like be putting away my underwear, and I see like the peeking up of an envelope, and I'm like, oh, I have money.
Yes. Perfect.
It's amazing. And I do it every year. So you would think that I would remember it, but I just don't.
ADHD.
Yeah.
So there's
my husband is
yeah.
That's maybe resilience.
So you're thriving.
Resilience or forgetfulness. Yes. We're thriving with forgetfulness.
There's different kinds though, right? There's different kinds of resilience. I mean, there's what are they? Emotional, mental, physical. What's the other one?
Is there another one?
Yeah, there's 4.
Yeah, there is. There is. Emotional, mental.
Hold on.
Physical. Oh my God.
Mental.
We said mental.
Physical, mental, emotional, social.
Social.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
social resilience. Okay.
Okay.
Whoops.
So some of these are easier than others for people, I guess. You know, physical resilience, like, you know, I mean, I
don't know. Do you have physical resilience?
Well, you know, I mean, throughout my life, I've got a few like chronic conditions that I've had to face and now live with and deal with, and so I won't, I don't have to go into detail on those right now, but I guess you could say that's resilience right there, is overcoming, any health setbacks like that. And I know both you guys have had your fair share of those as well. So we've had to learn how to be resilient when health problems come up, and
Well,
true.
Actually, like this is the physical resilience. That's actually a really interesting thing because during spring vacation, I mean, I'm like kind of recovering now, but the past couple nights I've been taking my daughters out running with me, and we do like 3 kilometers, and I tell them it's okay to stop if 3 kilometers.
What's that in miles?
How many narwhals
like a mile and a half?
Okay, thank you. Just for
a quarter
for the
maybe?
lazy Americans like me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A little over a mile, I would say.
Yep.
Maybe.
Okay.
But it's not that far, and but I tell them you can stop if you want to, but our goal is that light. And we were running, and like they're trying their hardest to make it to the goals, and then when we were walking back after our last goal, the 2 nights ago, I was they were like, I'm just so tired, and I'm like, yeah, but running and meeting your goals, that's it's building your muscles, it's building your physical stamina, that's great, but it's also building your mentality, and it's making you mentally strong. It's showing you that even though you're tired, even though your body is telling you stop, you're pushing through it, you're getting resilience. And I had that conversation just literally 2
You're
days
such
ago
a good
with my
mom.
daughters, because no, I just want them to be strong mentally.
No, seriously, that's such a good message.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because like, I mean, they could stop and go back. I mean, they could conceivably do it, but it's not very good for them mentally.
Well, but kids need to, sometimes they need to be taught what is the importance of the activity that you're doing.
True.
And so
when they heard, why behind
when they
it.
heard that, and then when they heard that, they were able to process it, and they were like, okay. And they were like, but how does that deal with my everyday life? And I'm like, well, when you're doing your studying or your homework, sometimes you don't want to, so you sit there and play around, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, use the same mental technique to focus on what you're doing and get it done. You can build that resilience. It doesn't come naturally to you, that's okay. It doesn't come naturally to me
That's
either.
so smart. And that's really helping them like, grasp their own agency and feel self-empowered. It's so much better than just being like, run a mile because I told you so, because you have to, you're actually explaining to them why this is going to help them when they grow up. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well,
I just
my kids never fell for because I said so. I have to give some kind of explanation usually anyway. Kids are smart, they want to know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have never, ever, unless it's like you need to clean up your stuff now, and I've explained why, and they're still asking why. Then I'm like, okay, because I said so. But I will always give them an answer first, because of this, and then they ask more questions, and I'm like, okay, now you're just asking questions to avoid what you're doing.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. But yeah, physical resilience, very important.
Mm-hmm.
It is physical.
Yeah, and if you want to train your mind to do hard things, I mean, any kind of physical training will help with that, because it's teaching you a skill that you can apply to other areas of your life.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard, like and you want to set like a goal of some kind when you're doing the physical training. So whether that's a time limit or like a distance or something like that you want to achieve, that really speaks to the goal setting part of your brain, and the part that'll have that mental resilience crop up and be like, well, you're tired, but you still have all this left to go. You haven't met your goal yet.
And a lot of us will just, a lot of us ADHDers will be just like, well, I don't want to today. I'm tired or something. It's like, I always feel like that. I'm like, I don't want to run. I don't want to do this. I always feel like that. But I have a rule with myself that I'm going to put on my shoes and put on my running pants and at least walk out the door. If I walk a little bit and I'm like, no, I'm just, I'll go back to the house. But 99% of the time, as soon as I'm out the door, then I'm like, okay,
now we're
made it this far.
That's a good rule.
Yeah.
That's like, give yourself grace, but like at least get your shoes on.
Yeah, like I'm starting to try to get back into shape too. So we have this like exercise bike that's I figured for me it's easiest where I live to, do something like that where you can just kind of stay in your garage rather than walk around, because there aren't a lot of like really nice sidewalk areas. Some of them are kind of crappy. So if I were to try to do like the running or jogging thing, first of all, I've never been a very great runner, and I usually get like some kind of joint injury like right off the bat, or shin splints, and I'll be like, oh, can't run. And then, because I have that going on and I technically have to rest, like it'll just go on indefinitely. So this time, in order for me to work around that little excuse, I just figured, you know what, maybe running is not really for me. Maybe it's just not what my body likes, because I did such low impact sports when I was a kid that I probably didn't develop some of the strength that my joints needed to do something like running.
Oh yeah, running hurts me. I'm a walker personally, and I just have a reminder on my phone that comes up every morning that just says walk, and
that's good.
Otherwise, I would literally forget, because I don't enjoy thinking about doing it. Just like you said, like it's like, oh, okay, I guess I have to walk. I'm not like, oh yay, I get to go on my walk. Like I've never been a huge exerciser.
God, yeah.
But even just having that prompt will be like enough for me to just get out of the house and do it. So yeah,
that's good.
Know how to trick your brain.
Yeah, exactly. But
and even though I was an exerciser, like I don't really like to start out. Like starting out is the hardest part. Even though I used to train for like competitive sports, I would be like, oh man, I just really don't want to get started. I'd rather just lay around. Like it, but you have to put yourself in the position of having to go and having to do something.
Yep.
Well, and that actually segues really nicely into being able to be mentally resilient.
Yeah, they do go hand in hand. Overcoming problems and challenges.
So how do you guys feel like you're mentally resilient, or how do you exercise that?
Well, I was thinking about this. I feel like people with ADHD tend to be creative problem solvers, like we a lot of them anyway. And so maybe that's an advantage right there, is that we're able to kind of think outside the box. And when a problem comes up that all the neurotypicals are freaking out about, we're kind of like, oh, I see a way out of this. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We're good under distress.
Yeah, we can be.
Oh, yes. Nothing like a deadline to get you panicked, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Deadlines work wonders. Like, I swear it's amazing. But I feel like I have fairly good mental resilience, even if I don't have like a hard and fast deadline. Sometimes it really depends on the thing too. So like for certain things where I know it's going to be like, torture in some kind of way, I'm not as mentally resilient sometimes as I'd like to be. But if there's something on the line and I can trick myself into being like, oh, I have to do that thing, then I'll do it. Like it will happen.
So again,
a lot of times I'll have to like promise. Yeah, like I'll promise somebody something because I will like walk through fire before breaking promises. Or I'll tell other people about it so that I feel like, beholden to do the thing that I wanted to do.
Have other people keep you
or
accountable.
like set it. Exactly. Or like set some kind of a deadline by arranging my schedule so that if I fail to do the thing that I have to do during a certain window of time, I won't have time to do it then. So that's another one.
That is so true. We set ourselves up like that. We set ourselves up like that, whether we like it or not, where we only have exactly enough time to do the thing and no other time, It's like, it is crunch time. There's no other choice.
Yep.
But sometimes that's the best way to do it.
Well, and I feel like, yeah, I think so too. And I feel like in a lot of situations, people with ADHD, we are so good at coming up with plans and like seeing things looking outside from different angles, but we have a really hard time following through with things.
Yeah.
And so
that part sucks.
Yeah, but that builds resilience. It builds resilience. When you start a project and you finish it, there is dopamine in that, ladies and gentlemen. When you start something and you see it all the way through, as soon as it's finished, there is a dopamine reaction there. So I highly suggest pushing through and getting that dopamine.
I've gotten a lot more dopamine from starting projects than finishing them. I'll just say that, though.
I wonder if that's different for some people.
It's a different focus.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's a different focus, but like there is a huge dopamine reaction, the satisfaction of seeing something complete.
No, that is true. I personally feel like I'm not as good at that as other people are. And and this is something we can talk about, but it's like, you also kind of have to know when you're in the middle of something, is this something I should even be doing? Like maybe I shouldn't, maybe I just should be throwing this away. But there is sometimes that urge to just want to see it through because you're this far in and you've invested this much time and money. And so I'm just going to keep my nose to it. I'm not like that, though. If something gets difficult for me, my first thought is, oh, this is hard. Maybe that means I shouldn't be doing it. I mean, for better or worse, that's just how I'm wired, And so if something is a challenge, my brain is like, alert, this is hard. Maybe we should be doing something different. Not, this is hard. How do we overcome this? And so that's my kind of survival tactic there, is do something different. So that's what I mean by much more dopamine from starting things. I've literally started businesses and bought the license for them and then never done anything with it, but it was fun,
what's interesting, my husband always says, and I totally agree with him, being a business owner and having done things, my husband always says anybody can come up with an idea, but barely anybody can follow through it and make it successful.
Yeah, that's what takes hard work and resilience to do that part, and it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I started my English school with like 10 students. I think it's 11 years ago now. I started with like 10 students. Now I have over 150 students in 2 locations.
Wow.
And, so,
it's just like anything that is worth doing. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort and time.
And it doesn't always start out glamorous either.
It's messy. And I personally have a hard time planning. I have a real hard time seeing into the future and seeing what I feel like I'm very much kind of a in the moment a lot of the time type person, for better or worse. And so it's just hard for me to so when it comes to being resilient, it's like I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's okay. I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. But
how do we know when to quit something and when to keep, like, if you're having to be mentally resilient about something? How do you know if what you're doing is the right thing? This problem you're working on.
Sometimes it's just a matter of survival.
Yeah. I mean, all we can do is one moment at a time. We don't know. We can't see in the future. We don't know if our school is going to be successful. We're just going to keep putting in the work because I guess it just comes down to finding something that you're passionate about and doing what you love. Yeah.
Yep. It's passion and survival.
I mean, Jen, that's how you just were able to, finish your degree here, is because you were passionate about it.
Yeah. True. Yeah, it's true. And I did overcome an awful lot just to get to that point. Like,
you're resilient as fuck.
Oh my gosh, it feels like that because like it was funny because, starting out, we had a bunch of people in the courses that would go through with us. And over time, you'd notice certain people missing that you had talked to before, and oh, they're not there this time, and oh, they're not there. And then you go from having like 35 people in your class down to like 20 people. And then all of a sudden we're at, 15. And the farther we went along, the fewer people were there. And like, I just started my final capstone class where we had 8 people. And now it looks like there's only 3 at the very end of it all.
Damn.
So more than half the class disappeared. And and I'm one of them. I actually made it across the finish line and turned in that giant thesis. And it feels really good to have turned it in. Like Annette said, the dopamine rush of clicking the send button and like, yes, it's done. I'm done. I'm free.
That must have been amazing.
It was, because I had to go to school part-time. I could not go to school full-time because I had kids and I had to work. There were some times where I was doing part-time master's degree work and a full-time job plus a part-time job plus volunteer work to help make ends meet at the house. So, because we've gone through a lot of different struggles, some of them with my husband's health, where I had to, help a lot more and carry a lot more of the weight. And like, there was an entire year of my degree path where I was also the breadwinner of our household and doing it with multiple jobs. And it was just crazy because like, I still look back at that period of time and I'm not 100% sure how I did it, except survival mode. That was it. It was the only choice. Otherwise we were literally homeless. So I've hit that extreme point where it's like, you do it or you're homeless. And I can tell you, if you asked me in high school if I would dream of becoming somebody's house cleaner, I would have said, fuck no, I'm not cleaning up after other people. I don't even like cleaning up after myself. But, you do it. And I was a house cleaner for, a good year. And then a little bit later, I ended up shutting down because of COVID. But because at that point I was like, I draw the line at a serious illness.
Yeah, the pandemic.
But that's where I felt like it was no longer going to work, especially because my husband is a heart patient. So like, we really couldn't have him get coronavirus too many times because you never know when it's going to be the last time with something like that. So yeah, it's been like a serious struggle. I did not have like a boost up. I didn't have parents that, were rolling in dough to send me to this school. I didn't have a lot of advantages that some people do have, where like maybe they've got a family member or a spouse that will help foot the bill. Nope, you got to take it all out in loans and pay it all out and pay it back later. And next comes my panic mode of how do I do that? It's all going to be survival,
Yep.
So
been there, done that.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of
park.
Oh God, seriously. And it's just so much thinking, I have to do this because if I don't do it, I'm going to fail this thing. And then if I fail this thing, then there's an extra consequence of having to pay back these loans that, if I don't have
for something you never completed.
Exactly. Like if I don't have the shiny piece of paper at the end, I'm not as marketable, and I won't be able to get like the job prospects to pay it back. So like it's very high stakes stuff.
It sounds like you had lots of internal and external motivation going on there. You really, really wanted it. Yeah. And it was like, externally pressure.
Yes.
Well, and I feel like just surviving things builds resilience. I mean, just surviving traumatic situations or difficult situations, I feel like that builds resilience because you have to
well, I mean, you can either you can either let your life just go down a drain, become addicted to something and be miserable. That's one option.
That's yeah. It's not a good option.
So
it's
I would say, unfortunately, some people are finding themselves in that place, just at the bottom of an empty bottle every night. And so.
And you know what? If you're going to look at that, if you are at the bottom of that bottle every single night and you look at it one night and go, nope, not tonight, that takes a fuck ton of resilience. Like by the time you've hit that stage, it takes so much. And like on a certain level, since I've only watched other people go through it and I've never gone through it myself, I can't like speak to what it's like to try to overcome an addiction. All I can do is, talk about trying to run away from, something like homelessness. That's where my resilience is at, is not trying not to hit the bottom. So but
I mean, oh well, I mean, I'm just thinking back to that point about like, how do you know when what you're doing is something that you should just be walking away from, like a bad relationship, a bad job. I mean, oh God, especially with relationships, you put so much work into them sometimes. We've all been there. You could do all the counseling and so late night conversations. How do you know, or how do you know when that job that is just killing you is just, you need to walk away?
In my personal opinion, you need to walk away when you can't imagine a future that has any happiness or any light to it.
Yeah, when you continue down that path.
Cannot, if you cannot even imagine your current situation, if you're miserable in your current situation and you can't even imagine it changing, then it's time to get out. It's time to stop.
Okay, so after I got divorced in 2021, I went through a couple of jobs, and because I was just trying to find something, and was planning on starting my own business kind of at the same time. But anyway, I worked at Starbucks back in college, and then I went back to Starbucks in 2021, and oh my God, it was awful. It was awful. I can tell you, after just about 4 or 5 weeks, I think, I realized this is not for me. Like it's gotten so complicated, and my poor little inattentive ADHD brain just could not keep up with everything. And I was really good at talking to customers and being friendly, but everyone else that was working there, they were like, what are you doing? Just focus and just do what you're supposed to do. Stop chatting. It was like, it's a totally different environment now. it's more like fast food, honestly, than the coffee shop it used to be. But so, there was one particular day where one of the other employees said something really rude to me. It just about that I was getting in the way, basically. And that's when I decided, nope, I don't want to keep working on this. I don't want to keep fighting this. I don't see a future here. And so I told the shift leader, this is going to be my last day. I'll work the rest of my shift, but I'm done after this. And they were like, oh, but so that I went home that day feeling a little down, like, I quit something that I had started. This has just been a cycle in my life, starting something, trying it, and then quitting it. But I did feel confident, though, that I did the right thing for me, though. It wasn't a healthy environment. It did feel very toxic for me there. So I think part of it's just trusting your gut, too, and realizing where you belong. So it's so hard, though. I'm sure people have stories about quitting a job or quitting a relationship that they regret, because in retrospect, they should have worked harder, should have done something different, But I feel like maybe if you're in a situation like that and you feel like, no, I am giving this my all and it's still not working, maybe that's a sign too.
Yeah, see, I think that is the main point. If you are doing everything that you can and still not seeing the needle move, then
it might be time to go.
It's not for you. It might be time to go.
Or if there's like obvious signs of abuse or toxicity, get out of there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that looking at where it's going to go down the hill or down the line that's a really important point, because so many people they're not in a job where it's like toxic per se. We can all recognize when. Like it's really easy to recognize the situations where it's like, oh, okay, well, obviously this is an abusive environment and I need to get out of it for my own health or safety. Like those situations are obvious, but like the ones that are less obvious are when it just isn't going to go anywhere. Like I used to work in call centers for like customer service and for other things too. But the call center environment is just one where there could be like hundreds of people on the phones and there might be like only a handful of management positions. So what is your likelihood of being promoted? It's not very good, especially if, you're unwilling to, like if you have a management that's toxic and you have to be part of a certain friends club or something like that. And you just
clicky, clicky workplaces are the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like then you know that it's just not going, no matter how much effort you put in, if you're not part of the friends group or if you're not willing to, give your boss some extra benefits that they're pressuring you into or whatever. Yeah.
I believe it happens.
But like, oh, it does. Yeah. There have been some situations, but like but if you're unwilling to do those things, and really who would be, like, then you got to just say, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to have it's going to go nowhere. Even if I work here for 10 years, I'm still going to be in the same spot 10 years later. Is that good enough for me? And if your answer is no, that's not good enough for me, then you have to move.
Yeah. Look around you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like I've been talking a lot with my junior high school and high school students. Like we've been talking about jobs, and it's like I asked them, it's like, well, what are the jobs that you know of? And the list is so small. And I'm like, why is your list so small? Like, look out into the world. There's so many jobs. There are so many different types of jobs for people to do. They get closeted into this one thing. Did you know that designing food for commercials, that's a job? They make styrofoam and they use smoke or
wax,
something, like candles or something to make it look like it's steaming and stuff. Like that's a job.
Somebody's job.
How
Yeah.
cool
Somebody
is
does
that?
Yeah. So find something that you love. Find something you're passionate about. Mm-hmm.
And
there's so many opportunities.
It.
It's never been easier to start your own business or just make money. You know, start a TikTok, start a blog, do whatever you want. I don't know. Yeah,
do what you want. But I have a, because we were talking about relationships and stuff, and I feel like that goes into both emotional and social.
we got two left.
Resilience. Yeah, but I feel like emotional and social are kind of intertwined in my opinion, because you have to be emotionally sensitive to be able to be social. You can't be social with any what's the word I'm looking for? God dang it! It's Jen's pet peeve.
Merit. I don't know.
Apathy?
No.
Success. Okay.
Success.
Right. That's what I was gonna say.
My God, what a basic fucking word to forget. Okay.
ADHD.
It's a moment. It's just a moment.
Success.
But yeah, you can't have any kind of social success without having like mental, like emotional resilience as well. So I kind of feel like they're different, but they meet in the middle.
Yeah, like there's a Venn diagram of these things. There's like a shady part in the middle.
Yeah, and I don't feel like social resilience is like that great, because I just want to be social.
Man, that's the problem. Our whole world just went through major trauma in 2020 that affected all of our social and emotional resilience. Everyone is more lonely and depressed now, thanks to fucking COVID. You know, it made a bunch of people into hermits. And so.
But in Japan, just a couple weeks ago, the mask mandate is gone. So, yeah, I thought I was going to be the shy foreigner. Like, I don't want to be the first person to take off my mask because I'm a foreigner and everybody will look at me. It lasted one day. And then I was like, well, fuck this shit. And I have not worn a mask in like
Are lots of people still wearing it, even though they say you don't have to?
Yeah, it's Japan and it's a hay fever season. So I feel like as summer comes, there'll be a lot less people with masks.
Wearing a mask in the summer sucks.
But Japan kind of always has had a mask culture, so it's not weird. But it's like I'm seeing more and more people with no masks. But I thought I was going to be really self-conscious about it. And that self-consciousness lasted one day. And the freedom that I feel, like not having to worry about my mask or like having that hot breath or like not having free access to air. It's so good. And it's interesting too, because it changes the social interactions. So like with my students and everything, they could see my whole face. They're not just seeing my eyes. And so they see my smile, they see the reactions, they see like everything about my face. And it like, it's like bonding. It's really interesting. So I'm like, no masks.
I think they just lifted the healthcare office one here. Like now you're not required to wear one in healthcare offices.
I just went to get got a mammogram last week for the first time, actually. And I walked in, grabbed a mask, and then I looked up and everyone in the waiting room was not wearing one because I'm in the Midwest. And so, of course people aren't going to wear one the second they don't have to. But we still had to at hospitals. Yeah. So I was like, oh, guess we're not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it feels like freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Let's just hope COVID doesn't come back.
Well, I feel like because
around.
now we have it. Yeah, it's endemic. We have vaccinations and we have antiviral medications now. So
we were resilient.
It's the same as
Yeah.
As a human species, we did get some resilience. I think humans as a species are pretty resilient.
See, I think that the whole COVID shutdown thing was social resilience only for extroverts. And all of us introverts were like, yes, I don't have to talk to you bitches.
They were so relieved.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm an introvert, and I, have a really great imagination and, colorful workings going on inside my head. So I don't necessarily feel like I have to socialize per se.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really need to see other people. I could be just as well
so
without it. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Going through lockdown was a lot easier for you than other people that
Piece of cake. It was like any other day.
You didn't even have to use your resilience.
Like, all right.
That's interesting.
Not truly,
I
no.
just had it because like gigs were canceled, and I have an English school, so I have to be social anyway. But like not having to go out and do things like with friends was great.
Oh my gosh.
It's great. And now I have to go out and do things with friends, and now I have to figure out how to cancel those things with friends without hurting people's feelings again. It's really bad.
Dang it.
I do feel like overall going through COVID, the pandemic, I feel like it helped us kind of maybe whittle down our friends lists a little bit, and so you're hanging out with people who are, I don't know, like when you go through a crisis, it really forces you to it sifts your life. Only the most important things are going to be remaining, You're going to lose some friends along the way. You're going to realize when you can't hang out with people, you're going to realize, oh, I don't really miss that friendship. Actually, I don't think it was serving me. And so maybe in some ways it was good. It tempered us.
I think that the first indication that something like that was going on was when, people had not seen each other for a while, and then they really started missing each other. Like even as an introvert, I started missing certain friends, and so then the term COVID pod became a thing where it's like, oh, this person's a part of my COVID pod.
I remember that. Like, yeah. Yep.
Where we just had these friends groups that you would go hang out with anyway, despite the fact that it was really ill-advised.
Oh, yeah. You ride together, you
and
die
then you
together.
just all get COVID together.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's how we were resilient. We had to form our COVID pods and get our fill of because it is it is really important to have relationships with people that you love and trust, and I think that's how we stay resilient is through relationships with other people. We can't do this ourselves. Like I know there's so much pressure in our society to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out and be resilient and do it all on your own. But it's like, God, we really need each other. As humans, we do rely on each other.
Yeah.
Well, and I was telling Ellen, Jen, before you popped on, I was like, yeah, because, one of the things that you learn when you're doing counseling classes and studying that is don't self-diagnose. Never self-diagnose, because you can't see yourself like you see yourself in a mirror.
Oh, it's so
impossible.
True.
Because but the people in your life who you love, who are beneficial to your life, because there are toxic people in your life.
Oh yeah.
So don't listen to those bitches. Listen to the ones that are actually there for your well-being and your and listen to them and get your feedback from them, because they're able to see you better than you can see yourself. And no matter how much training you do, how much research you do on your ADHD and how you're coping and things, you are tainted by your own opinion of yourself. And so always don't look at yourself through your own eyes. Look at yourself through the eyes of other people who see you. Listen to that feedback and trust it.
That's so good.
Yeah. That's why having people in your life that you can trust is a real benefit, because you obviously don't want to listen to the wrong people.
Yeah.
So,
and if you don't have someone in your life that you love and trust, then I don't know, go on Reddit. There's a lot of cool people on there you can meet. The ADHD ADHD women's hub is great. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
I actually really like it. It gets overwhelming.
Well,
for me,
yes, there's lots of chatter on there.
Too much stimulation, like too much stuff.
It's just too much. Yeah, it's just.
But I think it is important to be social, and I went through a phase in my life after the divorce where I was not social. I was hibernating for probably a good 9 months. Didn't want to hang out with anyone. And what I've realized about myself is that it is good for me to hang out with friends that, on a regular basis. And so I do try to make plans and go along with those, even if I don't always feel like it, because it's hard for me to make plans, but it's good for you. It's good for you to hang out with other people.
Yeah, it is. Closing thought. If you're an introvert, then social resilience will become emotional resilience.
Ooh, that's deep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, you have to like push your way through it. And I think a lot of people with ADHD are introverts. So if you can be socially resilient, you can also be emotionally resilient.
I would say
I think that's lovely.
For
yeah, it
when
works.
I've seen the most resilience happen in my life is from just getting to know myself. If you don't know yourself, then you don't know what you need, and you don't even know what you want sometimes. So you got to figure that out first, Otherwise, you might be digging the wrong hole, putting all your time and energy into something that's not going to serve you.
Yes, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and I think that, I guess my closing thought is, resilience looks different for everybody. Everybody has their own thresholds to, what they can, overcome, what they can deal with. And resilience can be small, it can be big, it can be a lot of different shapes, sizes, colors, but look for what you are resilient in your life and use that as a model to be able to apply it to something else in your life. And also realize that there is a difference between being resilient and just pushing through. There is a huge difference.
we want to be, we want to thrive. We want to have joy and happiness in our lives, and it's not always going to be, roses, but like
I
Welcome
guess
to humanity.
Yeah. But I think if we look at our lives and look at kind of,
gosh.
Overall where we're headed, like, it's good to feel peace about that. And so, that'll help you build resilience, knowing that you're moving the right direction in whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, and one more closing thought. Do not compete with resilience. Don't compete.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like, I see all the I see this real culture of competitive pain going on in life right now, like where people feel pressured to compete with how much pain or suffering or resilience they've had. Just don't do it. Like, skip that part, because your level of resilience is going to, or your level is going to be different than a friend. And also where in life you're resilient is going to be different than a friend. So don't buy into the competition of I'm more resilient than somebody else because I had all these hard things happen to me. Because, maybe you still lack a certain kind of resilience that somebody who didn't have all those hard things happen to them actually possesses. Like, we kind of have to come at it with a bit of humility.
Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just compare yourself to you and how you want to grow. Resilience for you might mean that you got out of bed and took a shower today. That's a step. Or you cooked yourself a meal.
Yes.
Something little like that. Like, celebrate those small victories where you're like, yeah, I'm moving forward in life.
Yeah, like, despite having turned in a thesis over 300 pages in the last week, the day afterward, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm cooking pancakes. Like, this is amazing," because I had not cooked a single thing for a week. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm cooking now." Like, so yeah, like, there can be those moments where normally, you wouldn't think twice about something, but all of a sudden that thing that you took for granted every day was like, "Oh wow, I can't believe I'm doing this right now."
That's so true.
It's amazing.
Own your victories.
Own the victories. I made pancakes.
You gotta celebrate those little victories along the way in life. Definitely.
Yeah, totally.
We can do this.
I guess to wrap this up, we can do this. We can all do all the hard things that we want to. We just have to know that they're good for us and that that's actually our real goals in life. And then, once that's where it's at, accept no substitutes. That's all I'm going to say.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, thanks guys for being resilient during this mini TED Talk of ours. And
thank you for resiling.
I don't think this was hard.
We hope you'll be even more resilient and listen to us next time as well.
We love you.
As always,
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.